Once upon a time in the animal kingdom of feathers, birds of all kinds lived in harmony. This vibrant valley, sheltered by mountains and crisscrossed by sparkling rivers, was a sanctuary of peace and beauty. At its heart stood the grand tree, home to King Eagle, the wise ruler of the kingdom. Among the valley's residents were two extraordinary birds, the dove and the peacock. The peacock was the epitome of splendor. With his dazzling emerald, sapphire, and gold plumage, he drew admiration from all who beheld him. Wherever he went, birds gathered to marvel at his beauty, and he basked in their adoration. But beneath his shimmering feathers lay a heart consumed by pride. The dove, on the other hand, lived a quiet life. Her feathers were simple and soft, a shade of white that blended into the sky. She spent her days helping others, carrying food to the injured and guiding lost fledglings home. Though her deeds were noble, she sought no recognition, content with the quiet fulfillment of service. One morning, King Eagle summoned the birds to the grand tree. His commanding voice rang through the valley. "A time of change is upon us," he declared. "Conflict stirs in neighboring lands, and we must send an ambassador of peace to foster harmony beyond our borders." The king's words sparked a wave of excitement. "The ambassador must possess wisdom, courage, and humility," King Eagle continued. "To determine who is worthy, I will hold a series of trials. The victor will carry our kingdom's banner and become its voice in distant lands." The peacock's eyes gleamed with ambition. "What better role for one as magnificent as I?" he thought. Surely, his beauty alone would inspire peace. The dove, standing quietly at the edge of the crowd, felt a pang of doubt. "Am I strong enough for such a task?" she wondered. But deep down, her resolve stirred. The first trial tested wisdom. In a sprawling forest maze, competitors were tasked with finding a golden seed and returning before the sun reached its zenith. The peacock strutted confidently into the maze. He chose paths based on fleeting glimmers of light or the sweet scent of flowers, believing that beauty would lead him to the prize. But the maze was full of false trails, and soon he was lost. The dove, in contrast, moved carefully, attuned to the subtle signs of the forest. She listened to the rustling leaves and the direction of the wind. Along the way, she found a robin trapped beneath a tangle of vines. Pausing to free the bird cost her time, but she pressed on with renewed determination. When the dove finally emerged from the maze with the golden seed, the crowd erupted in cheers. The peacock, empty-handed and frustrated, blamed his failure on the maze's poor design. King Eagle praised the dove. True wisdom lies in recognizing the needs of others, not just in seeking the prize. The second trial was a test of courage. A banner was tied to a branch extending over the canyon of whispers, a dizzying abyss where the wind howled like a mournful cry. The peacock stepped forward first, his feathers shimmering in the sunlight. He spread his tail for balance and began walking along the branch. But as the wind intensified and the branch swayed, fear gripped him. What if I fall? What if my feathers are ruined? Overwhelmed, he retreated, declaring the task impossible. The dove approached next, her heart pounding. The sheer drop below terrified her, but she steadied herself with a deep breath. "This is not about me," she reminded herself. "It's about the banner and what it represents." Step by cautious step, she crossed the branch. When a powerful gust nearly knocked her off balance, she paused, her wings stretched wide. Finally, she reached the banner, untied it with her beak, and returned to solid ground. The crowd cheered wildly as King Eagle praised her bravery. "Courage is not the absence of fear," he said. "It is acting despite it." The peacock stood in silence, his pride bruised. The final trial was shrouded in mystery. King Eagle led the competitors to a glade where a small sparrow lay on the ground, her wing bent at an unnatural angle. "Your task is to help this sparrow," the king said. "How you choose to act will reveal the depth of your humility." The peacock hesitated, his mind racing. "If I fail to heal her, I will look incompetent. But if I dirty my feathers, I will lose the admiration of the crowd." Torn between his vanity and his fear of failure, he stepped back. "This task is better suited for someone else," he declared. The dove knelt beside the sparrow without hesitation. "You're hurt," she said gently. "I do what I can to help." Using her beak, she gathered soft leaves and fashioned a sling for the injured wing. Then she carried the sparrow to a shaded spot and offered her seeds for strength. When she returned to King Eagle, the sparrow resting peacefully on her back, the crowd erupted in applause. "Humility is not thinking less of yourself," the king said. "It is thinking of yourself less. Dove, you have proven that true greatness lies in service." Crowned as the ambassador of peace, the dove set out on her first mission, to mediate a dispute between the flamboyant flamingos of Flamingo Lagoon and a visiting flock of stoic cranes. The flamingos, known for their lively dances, accused the cranes of disrupting their harmony with their somber, aloof behavior. The cranes, in turn, felt unwelcome and misunderstood, having sought refuge in the lagoon after fleeing a drought. The dove listened carefully to both sides. "Your differences are not obstacles but opportunities to learn from one another," she said. She proposed a cultural exchange. The flamingos would teach the cranes their dance, while the cranes would share their ancestral stories. At first, both flocks resisted. But with gentle encouragement, they began to open up. The flamingos showed the cranes the joy of movement, while the cranes' stories instilled a sense of resilience and unity. By the end of the exchange, laughter filled the lagoon, and the two flocks stood side by side in newfound harmony. As the dove continued her journeys, spreading peace and understanding, her humility and compassion inspired birds far and wide. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom of feathers, the peacock grappled with the lessons of the trials. One day, he approached King Eagle. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice tinged with sincerity, "I have been blind to my faults. I wish to serve the kingdom, not through beauty, but through action." King Eagle nodded. "Then use your gifts to inspire others. Beauty is a powerful tool, but only when it uplifts and unites." The peacock began hosting gatherings at his lake, where he shared stories of the dove's adventures and the lessons she had taught. Over time, he found fulfillment not in admiration, but in the joy of connecting others to the values of wisdom, courage, and humility. Years passed, and the kingdom of feathers flourished. The dove's work as ambassador brought unity to distant lands, while the peacock's storytelling wove lessons of virtue into the fabric of the kingdom. Though their paths were different, the dove and the peacock remained linked by the trials that had shaped them. Together, they became symbols of the kingdom's ideals, proving that even the proudest hearts can learn to embrace humility, and even the humblest can achieve greatness. The end. And so, my friends, true greatness is not found in beauty or accolades, but in the courage to act selflessly and the humility to serve others.